Lori was most recently the Director of Energy Solutions at SAP, and prior to that, she was with Sun Microsystems for 7 years, serving as their Senior Manager of Corporate Sustainability, along with other roles. While at Sun, she led the creation of OpenEco.org, an online community focused on energy efficiency, greenhouse gas emission reductions, and sustainable innovation. So help me welcome Lori.
Hi. Well, my thanks to those of you who were in my session earlier, since you're getting a retread here. Hopefully I'll have some new things to say. Super happy to be here. Really, really grateful to the organizers and to the university for inviting eBay to come and for heaven's sakes, giving me all this time in front of such a great audience. So this morning in my session, I talked a lot and really focused on our work in Utah and on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And here for just the next few minutes, I want to give you kind of a bigger picture of where our team came from at eBay, how we came into being, and how we find ourselves where we are now. Totally don't expect you to not be eating your lunch, so chew away. Hopefully after 10 minutes or so, you'll be done chewing and you can ask me questions, because that's what I'm really most interested in understanding from you guys is what do you want to hear about? What are you curious about? So as she said, I'm the Global Director of Green at eBay, which means all things environmental are really my concern. And certainly I've been at eBay since October of 2011. And when I first came to eBay, a lot of the time I spent was really focusing on operations, and I still spend a lot of my time focusing on our own environmental footprint inside the building and what we can do about that. But we also concern ourselves increasingly with things like how our suppliers behave, certainly, and also this idea of greener commerce. And some of the things I'm going to mention here in the next few minutes really roll up into that, which is this idea that not only do we want to do less bad as a business and have a smaller environmental footprint, but we've really been asking ourselves the question, how do we use our unique business model as eBay to do environmental good in the world? As you can imagine, eBay.com, which I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with, which is a very big part of our company, is, I don't know if it's the largest, but we like to say it's the largest engine for reuse in the world. When you think about all the previously owned goods that are bought and sold on the eBay platform, and we certainly have done some research, and you've heard us say, if you've followed us over the last few years, that most of the time the greenest product is one that already exists. Of course, there are exceptions, and we can talk about that offline if you want to talk about what the exceptions might be. But again, we think that we're in a unique position to do environmentally positive things, whether that's through our own programs or through helping our buyers and sellers and other customers do programs that support their own sustainability objectives. So our team, I roll up into the Global Social Innovation team, and we've really created that team over the last year at eBay. And we are in the process of getting out our first, for us, which is essentially a sustainability report, a CSR report. We're going to be putting out a website this spring that will have a lot more details and a lot more transparency than eBay ever has around the programs we do, the goals that we have, and what we're really trying to achieve as a company. So watch this space, coming soon. But social innovation came out of a lot of effort over the last 5 years at eBay, and really we can trace green back specifically to a group of about 40 employees who had a pizza party back in 2007, and these 40 employees really cared about the environment and eBay's impact on the environment, and so they really became eBay's first green team. Since then, in 2007, our green team now is I think it's, here I have 2,500. I think we're getting much closer to about 3,000 employee members in a 30,000 person company. That's in 25 different countries. We have them all over the world doing all kinds of things. Our model for how we operate the green team is we actually on our team have an employee engagement lead who both works with these teams. Each of these teams has a team leader that we work with. We have a summit every year with these team leaders. We bring them all together. We tell them about what our corporate strategy is. We talk to them about some of the challenges they're having. We introduce them to each other so that they can be sure that if they really care about getting rid of disposable cutlery, that maybe they talk to another team who's already done that somewhere else. So this is, I think, really essential to keeping the green team both growing and vital, and as much as possible get it plugged into the broader strategy of the company. And as we get, because as I talked to somebody in the session this morning, you have to kind of have a corporate plan in order to be able to explain to people and have done the analysis you need to do that, whether it's materiality or what's most impactful about your business, in order to kind of help your kind of citizen environmental people in your company direct their efforts and really explain to them what's most impactful about our business. And certainly one of the reasons we're here today is one of the biggest impacts we have is all the energy that we use. But that's just my 2 cents about making green teams more effective. And I, by no means is that a done deal. I mean, any of you who are working with green teams know it's not enough to make one and just say, okay, go forth. You have to kind of keep revitalizing it and keep people enthused and keep them plugged into what you're trying to do overall for the company to be sure that they're additive and they don't actually get in the way of the people who actually it's their day job to do some of this stuff. So after 2007, there was no corporate, strategic function in social innovation, and these teams sprung up all over the world like the garden of mushrooms that they are. It's a fantastic bunch of projects that were really, and eBay, we achieved so many really amazing things with just a lot of employee enthusiasm, not top down, definitely coming up out of the grassroots. In 2008, we did our first LEED Gold certified building. eBay hadn't done green building before that, and certainly it was the people in the workplaces team, in the purchasing team, all over the company who pushed workplaces to build a green building and make that work. That building also included, at the time, the largest municipal solar installation in the city of San Jose. And that kind of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, we didn't have an energy czar that figured that out for us. It was employees in the company who could help do the analysis and actually make that happen. So that was a huge achievement. I mean, the teams since then have done things like banning styrofoam globally in the company. We don't use any styrofoam in eBay, regardless of whether it's legal or not in your jurisdiction. We have a great team. I mean, here in the Salt Lake City region, in Draper, we've got one of our biggest employee and most active employee green teams of about 400 people. That's out of an employee population of about 1,500 people. So I'm very active, very engaged, have done some really cool things. Very excited to be moving into our latest new green building in Draper, which will be coming online in the next couple of months. But again, it's the employees that help provide the heat for the business to continue to make these choices, because no one told Workplace Resources, who is our real estate team, among other things, they must build green buildings. They decided to make that commitment, and we certainly support them in doing that, but they're the ones that had to sell that case into their management, and it's just fantastic that teams are really willing to do that. It really shows their commitment to the environment. Certainly, a lot of our green team members throughout the company also have these operational functions that make some of these big projects happen. I mean, when we built our first data center near Salt Lake, we decided to make that a LEED Gold certified building. And that team really prioritized that and made that happen. And now, the data center team is one of our most innovative, most aggressive about both providing the business, meeting the business objectives they have to meet, because we are an internet-based company and we are building data centers like there's no tomorrow, because you have to in this business. Those are good problems to have. But that team really has stepped up and proactively tried to move the needle on environmental issues in the company on our behalf. So it's really great to take a strategic job in a company and already have all these really cool things you can just kind of pull under there to build on top of instead of starting from ground zero. Just a couple of other cool examples. Omaha, Nebraska is another great big green team that we have. They've done things like community gardens. They proactively reached out to the University of Colorado and did a study about using disposable food service items versus durables and got that case in through the Workplaces team, and now they use all washable, reusable cutlery and dishware in Omaha. It wasn't like we did that. It wasn't that Workplace Resources did that. The green team did that. But of course, they worked with the Workplace Resources to implement it. So this is the model that has been working at eBay, and we continue to find new ways that the employees inform what we do. For instance, a couple of the big programs, I talked a little bit about us trying to do these greener commerce programs. And a couple of the key ones we've piloted over the last couple of years have come out of what we have at eBay called Skunkworks. Skunkworks is an annual competition we have among the engineers, or generally in the employees in the company, to just work on some cool ideas and pitch those. And if their idea is accepted, then the company funds those ideas. And a couple of really key programs for us that came out of Skunkworks was one, the eBay Box pilot program, which is this idea, the eBay marketplace takes for granted the idea of reusing shipping packaging. Now, most places, obviously you get boxes from lots of companies and you get them and hopefully you can recycle the corrugate, but a lot of you throw it in a dumpster, never gets reused. In our community, our people are dumpster diving all the time for boxes anyway. So the idea was, what if we actually design boxes for reuse? What if we actually understood that a box that someone gets from a seller at eBay, very often that buyer will turn around and become a seller on eBay. How can we give them something they don't have to use the expense of finding shipping materials? That whole program, we ran 100,000 of those boxes out into the world. Periodically, they still pop up. The program ended a little over a year ago, but what we learned from that program now for my team is informing the work we're doing to engage with global shipping, because now eBay, in addition to buying GSI Commerce, which that part of the company does fulfillment for big major brands like Toys R Us, so we do have distribution centers full of conveyor belts and people putting boxes in trucks now, but also we have a global shipping team that's looking at how can we help the eBay.com marketplace better buy and sell, for instance, through cross-border trade, helping the individual sellers navigate that kind of environment. So we're starting to spin up global shipping at eBay. What we learned from the box program has really helped us meaningfully engage with that team. The other key program that we got out of Skunkworks is what we called Instant Sale. I mean, it seemed like kind of an obvious idea in hindsight, but Instant Sale was really focusing on electronics. The fact is, electronics are one of those things that go through our platform that, as a lot of you guys know, lots of penalties for, it takes a lot of resources to build electronics. They're full of all sorts of nasty things. A lot of people don't recycle them properly. We thought, these people really thought about, well, how can we actually set up something that makes it even easier for people when they go buy that new iPhone to get rid of their old iPhone in a responsible way? So that program was quite successful for us. It really generated a lot more interest in buying and selling used electronics on eBay, and now the learnings from that program are really being integrated into the business. And really, that's one of the things I just want to highlight. For us as a team in social innovation, when we look at what our objectives are, at the top is business value. Second is social value. Not that we don't think social and environmental value is good, but if we don't present the business value to the business, we're going to continue to be, we would be, some people they may have a green organization in their company, but oftentimes you can get stuck in that, oh yeah, you're the nice to do people over here that, make us feel good and give some money away once in a while to charity, and that's what you do. But our objective at eBay is to truly be integrated in the business, and certainly on the operational side, we have some huge things going on where we are absolutely on the front lines of some of the key initiatives at the business. And just very briefly, before I get too into all the accomplishments of the Green Team in general, and since this is an energy conference, talking about the data center team. So the data centers are the factories of eBay. Fortunately, I used to work for a manufacturing company, and lots of challenges when you work for those companies. And certainly, eBay has some little things that we do on the PayPal side that we've done a little bit of hardware manufacturing. But in general, the data centers, we make bits for a living. We move them around. We build great big buildings. We fill them full of computers. And we've got 100 million users on the eBay.com marketplace. We've got 100 million users on the PayPal side. By some internet company standards, there are 1 billion users. Okay, we're not at that scale, but millions and millions, in fact, billions and trillions of transactions go through our data centers every year. So as you can imagine, as we build these data centers, our energy use goes like this often. But the data center team, in the innovations that they've done, they built this big data center in Salt Lake City. And in the process of making it LEED Gold certified, they also did a lot of innovations around how you actually operate a data center, whether that's, we enjoy very cool temperatures here in Utah often, and we can use free cooling. I think there's a fancier name for that, but honestly, it's essentially opening the windows or the vents. And that's a lot cheaper than using air conditioning. We've also done some interesting work with how you configure the IT equipment within the data center to make it movable, make it easy to move things around. Because it used to be the model was you build a data center, you build some solid racks in there, you bolt the machines in, and gosh, if your needs changed, you probably moved everything out, built another one, and tore the other one down. That's not the model people use anymore. We have models like rack and roll. Not only does that mean the racks in these data centers are pre-configured and can just be rolled in and plugged in, but on the vendor side, that team has proactively worked with IT suppliers to cut packaging. You cannot imagine how much packaging comes if you buy 2,000 servers and they each come in an individual cardboard box. You have to hire somebody specifically that all they do is move trash around all day long. And that is not cool. And so we have actually, on the data center team, they have really, used their mindset of trying to always have continuous improvement on the environmental side to really push the vendors to give us reusable crates for those racks and take them away when they go away. So it's not our problem, it's theirs. And those are the kinds of things. And it's not like, again, this isn't a top-down proclamation from somebody like me that said, you guys need to go out there and cut waste in the data center. They saw a practical business reason for doing it. Yes, part of sometimes what I do is I just provide them the analytics to show what the environmental benefit is that they were of something they were going to do anyway. Certainly, we're in the process of building another data center in Salt Lake City, right next to the one that's already there. That team could have just used the cookbook, built it just like we built the other one, but instead, last spring, we had this opportunity to think differently about this and think, what would happen if you built a data center that was not using the grid as primary power? What if you had a cleaner source of energy on site that meant that you could have the grid as backup, and you also didn't need all of the redundant systems that you need for a grid-powered facility, which are things like 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 backup generators, a whole floor full of uninterrupted power supplies and batteries and all of this stuff. All of that went away. And so now this new data center that will be opening this summer is going to be running off of 6 megawatts of cleaner energy from fuel cells. It'll be the first commercial data center to ever do that. And we're super proud of it. And yes, it's a wild, cool experiment, but we've done a lot of math, so we're almost 100% positive it's going to work. It should work. But it's really opened our minds and given us these ideas of what's actually possible. I mean, Hunter talked this morning a little bit about, often we're all just nibbling around the edges of these big things. And I'm so grateful to work in a company that when these opportunities present themselves, we've decided to jump on them. On top of that, in addition to the 6 megawatts running the data centers here, we're also going out for a large procurement of offsite. Because really in energy, what we prioritize is obviously efficiency. And then you get to cleaner on-site energy where it makes sense. Because obviously the easiest thing to account for from a renewable energy perspective as far as environmental benefit is if it's inside your fence. Done quite a bit of that, both on the small scale at some of our campuses, on the big scale, but then also sourcing off-site renewables. And that's what this big procurement process we're going through. We're really hopeful that that will result in another 20 megawatts for us here in the state of Utah. So really, we're very, Utah is really becoming a center of excellence for us in what we're trying to do environmentally. And so ultimately, when that is complete, we'll go from what we have now, which is about 2 megawatts of renewables feeding our portfolio, to about 28 megawatts by 2015. I think that's a pretty big and important jump, and it's very exciting. It's making us have to learn a bunch of stuff, but those are excellent problems to have. I want to leave some time. I got about 10 minutes, and I love coming to these things because I just want to understand who's in the room and just want to know what you guys are interested in, whether it's carryover from the last session or if you have any questions or comments or ideas for us, please feel free. Way over there. We do have a community around the Green Team. Our team provides a community site for them to work on, but it's volunteers. It's people who step forward and say, I care about green at eBay. I want to be involved. And of course, it's a mailing list, but it's also this idea, our team is able to cultivate these Green Team leaders, and we're also able, fortunately, to provide modest seed funding for projects like doing some research or like buying the new bins you need for your new recycle program. I mean, the employees in San Jose, back in, when was that? 2009, 2010, they put in a zero waste for green space initiative. Our diversion rate in San Jose is over 95%. And so, but doing that meant we had to do things like eliminate trash cans at desks and put in all these new recycle bins and things like that. And it's important that our team is able to kind of give that additional push and really show the Green Team that we expect them to do something other than read email. But it's also good that they just want to read email too, because often there are ambassadors out there in the business. We're trying to make them understand what we're doing at the corporate level so they can be out there with all those other 30,000 coworkers, giving them that more personal idea of why we're doing the things we're doing and what the cool things are that we're doing. Because our team has challenges just like a lot of your teams do, where we're really well known within certain circles, but there's a whole raft of the company that probably has no idea who we are or what we do. And so we're really hopeful as we get this transparency to be more public and we have this website, the green teams are going to be important ambassadors for that. What else? Anything else? Yeah, you, sir. Yeah, that's an excellent question. And certainly we asked ourselves that. In the general sense of green, I mean, a few years ago, after eBay got the green team inside the company kind of spinning, we kind of opened it up to the whole world. And so we do kind of have this something like a couple 100,000 person green team out there in the eBay.com community that we have social channels where we tell them about what we're doing, engaging them with programs like the box. The eBay box was very much about that. But also, we've seen results from this engagement with our sellers on things like people who were already selling packaging supplies deciding that they were going to offer a line of greener packaging for their buyers. And that was something that they hadn't thought about doing, but we helped them identify that there was a market for that. Certainly, as we learn more things about shipping in general and what the impacts of shipping are for our sellers who are selling newer products, we're trying to share that information with them as well, because we want to be very transparent about what we're learning so we can help them. Because when you talk to sellers about what their biggest pain points are, is shipping. Shipping costs money, it's hard to figure out, they're trying to keep those costs down. On the buyer side, their challenges are, you know, the horrible story of getting the $300 camera in a cereal box wrapped with duct tape. We'd really rather not have that happen. And so part of what we're doing in global shipping that has come out of some of the work we've done and also through the business needs is what kind of intermediation can we offer people? There are these large sellers who really would rather ship all their stuff to one place and then have us do fulfillment for them so that we can be sure that the item is what was, you know, we have two big pain points on eBay.com. One is bad buyer experience, which is the duct tape cereal box camera often. And we also have significantly not as described, where you get an item and it really isn't what you thought. And so this is, again, gets back to the business value, is the business needs to keep that low. The business wants everybody to have a good experience on the platform. And what can we do from the green side to help them make those business objectives? Because, you know, and plus, you know, even though we all know that energy is probably our biggest impact from a, you know, overall magnitude, what people see are those cardboard boxes. What they see is stuff that's, you know, they see is throwing it into a dumpster, and it drives them crazy. So we're trying to pass that along to the seller community as well. And we're still looking at other innovative ways we might be able to help some of our larger sellers if they have facilities, what we can share with them about facility efficiency and see if they can learn from us. Because we all got to stand on each other's shoulders. This is a lot of hard problems to solve, and we don't have time to have everybody learn it from scratch. What else? No, this is not really part of their day job, although, you know, periodically on campuses and stuff, especially if there's a larger group, they will go take some time and go do a volunteer project in the community. But generally, this is people, and I mean, this is to me what's even more impressive about an organization, you know, a site like our site in Salt Lake City or our site in Omaha. Most of those people work for customer support, and those are hourly employees. And they still find enough value in the fact that they're not going to get paid to go have an extra meeting at lunchtime, but they go do it because they care about it. And I think that's, and plus, you know, it gives them, you know, everybody wants to feel like they're working for a greater good. And so they really are very proactive about spending their own time. Of course, you know, somebody in my position, of course, I would love to see the company be more aggressive about offering volunteer hours during work and things like that. And we have come a long way, but we have places we could go with that. And having the green teams, we also have a give team, and getting them to provide that kind of asking for that and pressure really helps folks like us make those asks to upper management and show that this would really improve employee quality of life. And when you're in high tech, certainly if you're in places like Silicon Valley, you're competing for workers all the time, whether it's kids out of college or keeping your people working for you. And, you know, plenty of studies and our own understanding shows this is a big retention and attraction tool. People want to work for companies that are about something bigger than just the bottom line. And so, you know, still a lot more to do, but I think it's been a really interesting and productive few years for us. You, sir. Hi. Sometimes they come to our guy, JD, who's kind of the ringmaster of these things. Sometimes the people on the green team are associated with upper management. It's not all just, rank and file people. I mean, there's plenty of people in management who are on the green teams who really believe in this stuff. We also give them some, I always really try to make sure that we, especially when we have a new green team, that they get introduced to the local workplaces people and the people who are actually doing this as their day job, because that can always, they have the tools and experience of making business cases and knowing who the right person to talk to, because as much as we try to communicate in companies, I mean, eBay has grown like 2.5, 3 years ago, eBay was 14,500 people. We're 30,000 people now. So it's that constant, sometimes it seems like all our team does is have meetings and meet people, because that's, often we're just introducing people to each other and then they go do the work. We're just making the connections. And so, I think, could we be better at it? Yeah. And certainly our team, since we've become kind of this corporate level function in the last year, we're spending a lot of our time really engaging upper management at all different parts of the business so that they understand what we're trying to do, so that when these teams come to them, they'll have some context. And I'm really hopeful that will also help them go, oh yeah, of course, obviously we should do that. Because, managers, the higher they get, the less time they have to actually pay attention to the details. And often you just want them to say yes. So you do all the work ahead of time, and you go to them with basically your ask and not your problem. So, over there. Right. Well, and we've done, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Point well taken. And particularly when you get into media, I mean, yes, there's been a lot of progress over the last few years if you've been buying online for a while, where you used to get the DVD in the giant box with a bunch of packaging on top of it. And now it's great that we're all getting these smaller zip it open kind of mailers, but those are not reusable. And, we have had a history. We worked with the Postal Service a few years ago on a cradle-to-cradle certified flat rate box that you can still buy from the post office. If you get those priority mail flat rate boxes and turn them over, there's a little cradle-to-cradle logo on there, and we helped work on that, so I'm pretty happy. But even those could be better designed for reuse. Also, we are piloting some work in some other jurisdictions, like in Australia. What we found is people are much more inclined to ship things in what they call satchels, which are just those envelopes. Sometimes they're recyclable, sometimes they're not. But we're doing some interesting work over there trying to figure out a reusable satchel, because a lot of what people are selling are these small items, clothing items. Don't need a giant durable box for that stuff. So absolutely, point well taken. I mean, there's plenty, fundamentally nothing sustainable about a cardboard box. Well, yeah. Well, and I was happy, we took a nice little field trip over to GSI Commerce in one of our sites last year, and they're already using boxes that have a front flap on them that only take one little round sticker. They don't need all this tape, and it's got a front flap, so it's designed for reclosability and everything, and they're just doing that because those are the right boxes, and the stuff gets where it needs to go in the condition it needs to be. And so one of the things we've discovered is often you don't have to make a special box. You just need to look at what they're sourcing and go, well, why don't you buy that box instead of that box? Because this box is more designed for reuse, and you're going to use a box anyway. But, certainly plenty more to do there. Looks like maybe one more. Yeah. Yeah, well, we at eBay, we are lucky that a lot of us are, we're certainly enabled to telecommute. We certainly want people to work from anywhere. We've got people who work far away from campus sometimes, and they want to work at home a day a week. And for a lot of functions, that works great. Other functions doesn't work so good. If you're in a call center, you kind of physically have to be sitting there on the phone. So I think it's kind of a mixed approach that we use, and I think it's really function by function. But the company absolutely supports that. And I certainly haven't done any quantification at eBay specifically about that as far as comparing home energy use when someone's sitting in their house working versus the campus. But having worked at Sun, where we had a beyond extensive telework program, at one point we had 2/3 of the employees who didn't have an assigned office in a company of 35,000 people. You learn a lot about, it costs a lot more energy and infrastructure to run a campus than an individual house. And at some scale, if you don't need to build that other building, you're actually having really meaningful savings, not just from an energy and carbon perspective, but all the materials and life cycle and all that good stuff. And so, I think eBay has found a pretty good medium. I mean, I know our workplaces team, for this next couple of years, they're really focusing on providing more of these satellite working situations at our main campuses. So when you need to come to campus, you can find a conference room, you have a desk you can sit at, you make sure the Wi-Fi works, and everybody's cool. I mean, even on our campus shuttles, we have Wi-Fi, right? Yes, double checking with a coworker that rides the shuttle. So hopefully people can actually continue to be productive. And so I think we will continue to do that. I mean, people seem to be very comfortable with, I think it depends on the manager. I mean, what we learned at Sun in general about telecommuting is it's not always straightforward for somebody in management to know how to manage a distributed team. And you need to, as a company, to think about what's more challenging for them, what's easier for them, and provide managers with the training and the tools to effectively manage a distributed team. In high tech, happily, I mean, distributed teams are pretty normal because, you have India developers and you have New York people. I mean, even our team, we're in San Francisco and London and DC and New York, and the work still gets done, even though we don't get to see each other in person very often. So, yeah, that's quite a news story. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that comes out at Yahoo. So I think I'm out of time. So thanks. I hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks for listening.